This is who we are. WADR.
WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar and Banjul, 7 o'clock in Porto Novo and Abuja. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Bandit attack leaves 13 Muslim worshippers dead in Katsina State, northwest Nigeria. Senegal's National Assembly opens first extraordinary session with whistleblower protection bill on the agenda.
Alors ça sera certainement le tout premier pays.
It will certainly be the very first French-speaking country in West Africa, and Senegal, which has always been a reference, will be able to launch a strong signal that will be stimulating for other countries to be able to take the lead.
Et dénoncer les actes illicites.
Jihadist group launches simultaneous attacks against Malian armed forces earlier Tuesday. Reactions trail mass failure in University of Liberia's 2025 entrance exams.
So we are concerned, besides the presentation of the curriculum, presentation of the materials, marking is a whole different experience.
Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Christopher Aticho with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and a warm welcome to our listeners within and beyond the sub-region. This bulletin begins in the Central Sahel, particularly in Mali, where the Malian Armed Forces FAMA came under coordinated attacks in the early hours of Tuesday. According to a statement from the General Staff of the Malian Armed Forces, EMGA, the assault began around 5:30 a.m. and targeted FAMA positions in Farabougou and Birikeri, Weri, located in the Senegal region. The situation on the ground remains under close surveillance as military operations came and continue to exert pressure on armed groups operating in the northern and eastern part of the country. Emo Edit completes the story.
According to latest reports, the Group for the Support of Islam and Muslims, GNIM, took control of the town of Farabougou, including the army headquarters and areas held by militias affiliated with the Denzo movement. This development is part of a broader pattern of sustained pressure and counter-pressure between Malian forces and jihadist insurgents. Since January 2025, the Malian armed forces have intensified operations against Islamic State in the Sahel, successfully neutralizing and capturing several key figures in the Gao and Menaka regions. Notably, on January 3, Muhammad Oud El Kile, also known as Abdul Rakia, was arrested in the Amsarakat alongside several fighters and military equipment. He is accused of orchestrating attacks and committing abuses in Ingwelen and Menaka. On July 1, following violent clashes on multiple fronts, the FAMA, supported by elements of the African Corps, a Russian contingent officially integrated into Mali's defense system, repelled simultaneous GNIM assaults on 7 strategic locations, including Nyono, Molodo, Sandare, Gugi, Nyoro du Sahel, Kayes and Djiboli. In Djiboli, a critical border post near Senegal, administrative buildings were riddled with bullets despite the presence of joint Mali-Senegal patrols. These operations highlight both the sustained military pressure on jihadist leadership and the persistent challenges facing Malian security forces. The General Staff of the Malian Armed Forces has reiterated the need for increased vigilance and greater civilian-military cooperation.
Imo Edit filed that report. Meanwhile, former Mali's Prime Minister Shogo Kokala Maika was remanded in custody on Tuesday by the investigating chamber of the Supreme Court following a week of police detention at the National Economic and Financial Center in Bamako. Maika is facing prosecution on multiple charges including misappropriation of public funds, forgery, use of forged documents, and financial embezzlement. The investigation centers on his tenure as head of the Prime Minister's office, his oversight of the Universal Access Fund Management Agency from 2020 to 2023, and his involvement with the Malian Telecommunication and Postal Regulatory Authority AMRTP. According to the case filed, the allegations involve serious financial irregularities. These include unjustified expenditure of several billion CFA funds through dubious loan approvals, undocumented telephone subscriptions, inflated mission expenses, and non-transparent contact awards and other questionable management practices. The case is being closely followed amid growing public scrutiny of corruption and governance in Mali. Before leaving Mali, let's reminisce August 18, 2025, which marked the 5th anniversary of the military takeover in the country, which ended months of protest against the rule of then President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta in 2020. The coup followed widespread demonstrations fueled by accusations of embezzlement, nepotism, and corruption involving members of Keïta's regime and inner circle. 5 years on, the West African nation remains under military rule, grappling with persistent insecurity and growing concerns over political suppression. Augustin Colley provides analysis of the situation.
Mali took a major turn 5 years ago, a descent into deep uncertainty amid the global COVID-19 pandemic. The country's then president was arrested and taken to Kiti, a garrison town near Bamako. Just hours later, he appeared in a video broadcast to national television announcing his resignation. Led by Colonel Assimi Goïta, the putschists quickly took control of the state apparatus, arresting key figures of the austere regime. At the time, they pledged not to clinch to power. Yet, 5 years on, they remain firmly in control, despite multiple alleged coup attempts they claim to have thwarted, the latest just a week ago. General Goïta recently extended his grip on power by granting himself an additional 5-year term through a national charter approved by the transitional parliament. In the early days of the transition, the junta installed Ba Ndao, an interim president, and appointed Mukhtar Ouani as prime minister. Both were later removed in what the military dubbed the recertification of the transition. Meanwhile, international dynamics shifted dramatically. The French army withdrew, followed by other European forces and several humanitarian organizations. Russia was invited to assist in the fight against terrorism, but despite their involvement, the security situation remains mixed. Curfews have been imposed in several regions by the military. On the political front, Mali has withdrawn from ECOWAS after repeated pressure to return to civilian rule. Political parties are being dissolved and dissenting voices are being systematically silenced through arrests. The latest high-profile figure to fall out of favor is Shogel Kokala Maïga, a former prime minister and once a staunch ally of the junta in its opposition to France and the West, now reportedly imprisoned. Mali's 2020 coup marked the beginning of a wave of military takeovers across the region. Guinea in 2021, Burkina Faso in 2022, and Niger in 2023. Today, elections are not on the agenda in the Central Sahel, and basic freedoms are in steep decline.
Augustin Colley with that analysis. Away from the Central Sahel, particularly in Mali, let's turn attention to Nigeria, where suspected bandits launched a deadly attack on a mosque in the Ugwawan Mantayal community of Malumfashi local government area, Katsina State, killing 13 worshippers. The incident occurred during the early morning prayers when armed assailants stormed the mosque and opened fire on those gathered to worship. leadership. According to local sources, the attack is believed to be a retaliatory strike following the community's successful defense against the previous assault just 2 days earlier. Sankole Janko has the details in this report.
Katsina State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Dr. Nasiru Muazu, made the disclosure in a statement on Tuesday, describing the incident as a reprisal attack undertaken by the hoodlums after residents of the area had earlier confronted the bandits. According to Muazu, the Katsina state government has already announced immediate security reinforcements and support measures following the tragic incident. He said the security agencies are currently on the ground in Guan Muntao to restore normalcy. The commissioner maintained that Air Component Commander of the Forward Operating Base Nigerian Army and the Nigerian Police Force have already been deployed to clear the bandits. He stated that during the rainy season, bandits often hide under the crops to perpetrate their evil acts. Meanwhile, the state government extends heartfelt condolences to the families affected and reaffirms its unwavering support for community-based security initiatives while working to eliminate criminal elements from the region.
Sankole Janko filed that report.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let me take you now to Benin, where Reporters Without Borders have reacted to the arrest of Beninese journalist Hugh Komla Susokpe. Susokpe, the director of the online media outlet Olofofo.info, was arrested on July 10 in Abidjan, the capital of Côte d'Ivoire. He faces several charges including cyber-talking, incitement to hatred, and rebellion, as well as condoning terrorism. RSF strongly condemns what it describes as a targeted kidnapping, denouncing serious violations of the journalist's rights. The Press Freedom Group maintains that serious failings were noted in the arrest of journalist Hugh Komla Susokpe. Arnaud Froggy is the head of RSF Investigation Desk, and he denounced the situation.
Les informations qu'on a à notre disposition font état de graves manquements dans la façon dont cette opération.
All the information we have at our disposal is a serious lack in the way this operation was carried out. But these serious shortcomings were reported by certain Ivorian parties themselves. And then finally, Ivorian parties who participated in the operation and who reported the serious shortcomings. There were no police officers. There were no police officers who supervised the operation. The journalist did not see any magistrate. He was not allowed a lawyer. His extradition was not legally validated. He could not contest his reprisal in the country he was wanted for hunting, and because of which he benefited from the status of political refugee in a neighboring country. A series of shortcomings have been found, including by Ivorian's party itself, which leads us to ask for the opening of this investigation. It is important and imperative to identify the responsibilities. We are in a very serious situation. The journalist is in prison. So accounts will have to be made, and that's what we are asking for through the opening of an investigation which we call our own.
And now Froggy is the head of RSF Investigation Desk. Back here in Senegal, the first extraordinary session of the National Assembly is underway, marking the official resumption of parliamentary work on critical issues shaping the country's democratic landscape. According to the National Assembly, several draft laws are scheduled for review in the coming days. Among them is a landmark bill on the status and protection of whistleblowers. If no action is taken through these internal channels, whistleblowers would be permitted to disclose information publicly. If adopted, Senegal would become the first French-speaking country in sub-Saharan Africa to implement such a legal framework. Jamie Kande is Francophone Director of the West African Whistleblowers Protection Platform, and he welcomes the bill.
Alors, ça sera certainement le tout premier pays.
It will certainly be the very first French-speaking country in West Africa and in the sub-Saharan Africa. In West Africa, we have Ghana and Liberia, which already have laws on the protection of alarm blowers. And Senegal, which has always been a reference in democratic matters, will be able to launch a strong signal that could, as I said, be stimulating for other countries to be able to take the lead. It is already a framework that will allow unequal citizens to denounce illegal acts in a procedure that will be legal, where they will be told exactly what to do, because we can see the danger that the alert throwers are facing in other countries where the laws do not exist. So it will offer a legal framework for the alert throwers that would allow all Senegalese to be witnesses, as I said earlier, to be able to reveal the information he wants to reveal to promote good governance and denounce illicit acts.
Pour promouvoir la bonne gouvernance et dénoncer les actes illicites.
Jamie Kande is Francophone Director of the West African Civil Whistleblowers Protection Platform. Elsewhere in Ghana, 3 leading environmental organizations are raising alarm over what they describe as an illegal attempt to divert the sacred Birim River near Apampam in the country's eastern region. The groups allege that the incident, reportedly linked to a mining company, poses a serious threat to Ghana's natural heritage and undermines ongoing efforts to preserve the nearby Itiwa Forest Reserve, one of the nation's most critical biodiversity hotspots. Environmental advocates are calling for urgent government intervention to halt the diversion and investigate those responsible. Nadi Ditete reports.
3 prominent advocacy groups, Arosha Ghana, the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, and the Concerned Citizens of Itiwa Landscape, have condemned an alleged attempt to divest the Birim River at Apempem in the eastern region. They accuse a mining company linked to one Emmanuel Gama of Kwabing of excavating trenches and constructing a channel to redirect the river where it flows out of the ecologically sensitive Itiwa Forest Reserve. According to the groups, the operation was halted only after swift public alerts. Officers from the Water Resources Commission, the Minerals Commission, and the National Intelligence Bureau, NIB, later inspected the site, with the NIB reportedly arresting a security operative. The groups say the miners also bulldozed a 3-year-old ecological restoration site, destroying tree species such as mahogany, emery, and ofram. They are calling for the arrest and prosecution of Mr. Gama and his associates, full restoration of the affected area, and investigation into possible complicity of state officials. Convener of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, Dr. Ken Ashigbe, says the destruction of the Birim River cannot be taken lightly.
It is the impunity of environmental criminals such as Emmanuel Gama that caused the life of 8 of our gallant people in the lines of duty. And we need to let people like this know that they are not going to be allowed to perpetrate such heinous crimes, ecological crimes, and be allowed to go away with it. So it's important that the offices of state do not only deal with the security persons that are there, but we need to go after the root cause, people like Mr. Emmanuel Gama and all his collaborators, and make sure that they are brought to book.
The group stressed that the Birim River, which rises from the Itiwa Forest, is a lifeline for communities and industries across the eastern region, but continues to face severe threats from illegal mining. For WADR, Nadidi Seti, Accra.
You're still listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. We're also live on Facebook at WADR English Service, as well as YouTube at WADR News. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Bandit attacks leave 13 Muslim worshippers dead in Katsina State, northwest Nigeria. Senegal's National Assembly opens first extraordinary session with Whistleblowers Protection Bill on the agenda. Jihadist groups launch spontaneous attack against Malian armed forces earlier today. Still ahead in the news, reaction trail mass failure in University of Liberia's 2025 entrance exams. We do have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's focus on Côte d'Ivoire, where a recent statement by Laurent Gbagbo, president of the PPACI party, is drawing strong reactions across the country's political landscape. Gbagbo denounces what he describes as the head of state's intention to seek a 4th term, a claim that has ignited a fresh wave of political debate. Reactions are trailing the former president's comments. Some political activists warn that the country may be entering a period of heightened pre-election tensions, while others argue that the current political crisis could have been avoided following the controversial announcement of President Alassane Ouattara's candidacy for the pending October election. Details with Abdoulaye Hassan.
Following Laurent Gbagbo's speech last weekend in Yopougon, many Ivorians are expressing concern over a potential repeat of the 2010 post-election crisis. Despite being officially removed from the electoral roll by court order, the PPACI leader has vowed to mobilize his political base both to reclaim his political standing and to oppose a possible fourth-term bid by his long-term rival, President Alassane Ouattara. Gbagbo also reaffirmed his commitment to ensuring the security of the upcoming election, promising that all necessary measures will be taken to that end. However, journalist and political analyst Felix Boni emphasizes the need for political leaders to rise above partisan interests in the name of national unity.
These are the same protagonists who are taking the lead in 2025. The fourth mandate doesn't make sense. However, for me, this fourth mandate is justified. Since there is a third mandate, it means that there is no problem with the fourth mandate. All this is to scare the population and to say that all these actors should be released to give way to a new generation, even more than 3 decades after the death of the convoy.
Meanwhile, political analyst Serge de Souza calls for caution, urging all sides to avoid hasty decisions. He says the key political actors are fully aware of what's at stake and have no interest in aggravating the situation.
We have to wait for the possibility of discussion because what is currently being researched is to create a balance of power that will ultimately lead to a kind of discussion. So everything will be played out in the last few months, and that's when we will be able to really evaluate things.
With tensions rising ahead of the October 25, 2025 presidential election, Côte d'Ivoire's political climate remains fragile.
A report by Marcel Aristoble in Abidjan and voiced by Abdoulaye Hassan. Away from Côte d'Ivoire, a widespread pattern of failure has been reported in the University of Liberia's 2025 entrance and placement exams. Latest results released by the institution Center for Testing and Evaluation reveals that over 13,000 candidates registered for the exams. However, the results reveal significant academic shortcomings among the applicants, raising concerns about the quality of secondary education and student preparedness. From Monrovia, WADR's correspondent Abraham Parker reports.
Official statistics from the state-run university show that 9,299 candidates failed their exams, representing 74%, while 2,807 candidates passed, constituting 28%. This is how Executive Director of the Centers for Testing and Evaluation, Moses Heenan, announced the results.
Additionally, 410 candidates accounted for 3.28% of the candidates shaded their exam number incorrect, resulting in their results being indeterminate. Of the 2,807 candidates who successfully passed the entry exam, 1,415 or 50.41% are females, whereas 1,392 candidates accounting for 49.59% are males.
Meanwhile, the examination results have sparked significant debate and criticism across the educational sector of Liberia. Some Liberian educators and policymakers highlight concerns that the statistics from this year's entrance examination underscore broader challenges facing the country's educational system. Many Liberian students had hoped to enroll this semester, but thousands remain on the sidelines as the university recalls high failure. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
For our guest interview, let's just stay a while longer in Liberia for where the latest result from the University of the country's 2025 entrance and placement exams have raised serious concerns. Out of more than 13,000 candidates who registered, the majority struggled to meet the required standards, highlighting worrying gaps in secondary education and student preparedness. What exactly is driving this trend, and what does it mean for the future of higher education learning in the country? To help us unpack this issue, we are joined by Aaron Weah, the adjunct lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Institute for Conflict Transformation. He shares insights on the challenges and possible solutions.
We are alarmed, but in a way, not entirely surprised for a number of reasons. One, the issue of teachers and the presentation of curriculum, especially the curriculum for these exams, has remained a concern. Materials such as science, maths, English, physics, chemistry, there have been concerns about teachers' capacity to deliver the curriculum to the students. Then there is also concerns about how much of the marking. There are very smart students, so there are concerns about are the grades we've seen truly representative of the students, or do we also have a problem of poor markings? I mean, I'm a teacher myself, and one of the things you learn when you are writing your teacher's exam is that marking is a whole different experience that requires patience, that requires time, and that requires a lot of care for you to be able to fully evaluate the student. So we are concerned, besides the presentation of the curriculum, presentation of the materials, marking is a whole different experience. Are the teachers devoting the quality of time required to really go through students material, students answers? So there are different layers to this problem. And the main problem, I think, is with the level of teacher training and the presentations of these subjects for examination.
Well, so how does this outcome reflect on the state of secondary education and the level of student preparedness in Liberia?
Well, it goes back again to government priority, really. We have had 3 different administrations. This is the 3rd administration. And in each of these administrations, if you look in the national budget, you see their commitment. If you see the Minister of Education speak, the President speak, there seem to be, in terms of words, priorities for education. But it goes down to the actual implementation, beyond the rhetoric we hear. How much of these priorities have really been prioritized for education? Because as you have followed Liberia, this has been a long-running problem from the University of Liberia entrance, and the repeated bad performances are the West African exam. So I think this goes to the heart of government policy on education, and the failure of government to really find a permanent solution.
Indeed, what steps can education authorities and stakeholders like yourself take to improve performance and restore confidence in the country's education system?
I think the solution, in my view, is quite simple. One, there has to be qualified teachers. I remember 7 years ago, one of the presidential candidates or president explored the idea that we need to go to Ghana, we need to go to Nigeria, we need to go to other West African countries with strong teacher training programs, these teachers, so that there is a training of trainers per se. I think that's a brilliant idea. That's a brilliant idea. Liberia has gone through a lot of reform in different sectors after the war. For teacher training and to improve the level of quality education, this remains at an all-time low. It hasn't really taken off since the end of the war.
Aaron Weah is the adjunct lecturer at the Kofi Annan Institute for Conflict Transformation in Liberia. And anytime you hear that, it tells you that it's time for sports. And Augustine Colley joins me. Augustine, what's the latest?
Well, good evening, Chris. Well, Senegal battled to Hartford 78-65 win over South Sudan in the AfroBasket quarterfinals on Monday night at the Pavilion Matusul de Luanda Stadium in a highly anticipated clash between two of the tournament's tallest teams. Senegal took early control with strong defense and sharp attacking play, securing their place in the Final Four. Vespa pressure from the Bright Stars, the Lions of Teranga, held firm, backed by a small but vocal group of supporters. Mali edged past Guinea 70-67 on Monday in a tightly contested AfroBasket 2025 classification round game, securing a spot in the quarterfinals as well. After a Schenker group stage performance, Mali responded with a strong showing. Well, some fixtures: Cape Verde takes on Tunisia, Cameroon will battle Congo, and Senegal will take on Nigeria, as well Cote d'Ivoire battling Mali. Now, in football, we always know that at this moment it is CHAN, but let's look at CAF history, and all three to host the 2024 African Nations Championship. Kenya, Tanzania, and all have advanced to the quarterfinals of CHAN, and this landmark achievement marks a significant step in the history of these countries.
Is Nigeria doing well?
Nigeria is up against Congo, and Nigeria is in the lead 1-0.
Okay.
Sudan is also trailing along with Senegal goalless, but at the moment
it's consolidating.
Yes, Senegal and Sudan are ahead.
Right, thank you very much, Augustine Colley, for the details in the world of sports. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Ismaila Kamara and Shekinjai for the technical assistance. To interact with us via social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook at WADR English Service. I am Christopher Ticho. Good evening and enjoy the rest of our broadcasts.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Gulf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.